I could hardly believe how much time and energy I had poured into planning my wife's birthday. From the very start, the idea had been mine. Every tiny detail, every penny spent, every late night spent brainstorming. It was all for her. I wanted the night to be flawless for the woman I had been married to for 4 years, the one I had built my entire life around. The venue was nothing short of spectacular, a downtown rooftop with an unforgettable view of the city skyline. I had spared no expense, arranging for a 5-layer cake that blended her 2 favorite flavors, chocolate and vanilla, and even a champagne tower. The glasses stacked so high, sparkling under the lights, looked like something straight out of a movie. I had also paid extra for delicate fairy lights and imported exotic flowers from around the world, flowers she had always dreamed of having in her bouquet. It was a small fortune, but I didn't care. This night was about making her feel like the star she was. I stood there in my finest suit, watching her mingle with our 60 guests, family, friends, and acquaintances we'd known for years. She was radiant, dressed in the gown we had picked out months ago, her hair shimmering in the ambient light. I felt a sense of pride, though exhaustion weighed on me. This was what marriage was about, right? Making her happy. But then she grabbed the microphone. I was expecting a heartfelt speech, a moment where she would thank me for all I'd done. Instead, she raised her glass and began speaking about Damon Rivera. She called him her guiding light and spoke about how he had been there for her through the toughest times. I froze. My smile remained, but inside, I felt everything shift. Damon, her colleague, the one she mentioned a few times casually, as though it meant nothing. A knot formed in my chest. I forced myself to breathe, hoping that maybe she would mention me next. But no. Instead, she turned to me with a playful smirk, as though she were about to tell a joke. She handed me a small gift bag. "For you, honey," she said, her tone light. People chuckled, thinking it was endearing. I opened the bag, expecting something small, a tie or a watch perhaps. But inside was a neatly folded black T-shirt, a designer brand. I pulled it out and held it up, and there it was, bold white letters spelling out the word divorced. The room went still. Then some awkward laughter followed. She smiled as if she just delivered the funniest punchline, as though she had won some comedy award. My hand shook as I stared at the word divorced on the shirt. After years of marriage, all the sacrifices, sleepless nights, paying bills, and putting events like this together, this was how she chose to celebrate. My throat tightened. I could feel every set of eyes on me, waiting for my reaction. I could have screamed. I could have thrown the shirt back at her and stormed out. But instead, I set the gift bag down on the table and pulled out the Cartier bracelet I had bought her, her real birthday gift. It was gold, elegant, and expensive, something I had saved up for because I knew she'd adore it. I placed it next to the cake where everyone could see it and walked away, without saying a word. The cold night air hit my face as I stepped outside, sharp and biting, but I didn't stop. The sound of the party faded behind me. The hum of conversations, the clinking of glasses, the buzz of confusion. My footsteps echoed on the pavement, each step growing louder in my mind. My heart raced, pounding so hard that it felt like it could break my ribs. I didn't know where I was headed, but I knew one thing. I wasn't going back. Not for her. Not for anyone. That T-shirt wasn't a joke. It wasn't a playful gift. It was a statement, a decoration for her night. And I wasn't about to stand there, pretending everything was fine while I grieved over her. Recently, I had been focused on building my own life, work, managing Sasha and Omar's startup, and I felt stronger than I had in years. If she was falling apart, that was her problem, not mine. An hour later, Mark texted me. Damon quit. She's scrambling at work. Damon, her so-called guiding light. I didn't know all the details, and neither did Mark, but I could see what was happening. She had built her image around him, leaned on him for support. Now that he was gone, she was falling apart. I didn't feel victorious, but I didn't feel pity either. I had moved on. I dove back into my work spreadsheet, the numbers blurring for a second before I refocused. Work was my anchor now. The following day, I got a call from Lisa, someone close to my wife who I hadn't fully severed ties with. She hesitated at first, unsure if I'd even want to hear what she had to say. She told me about a podcast my wife had tried to launch. It flopped, one episode, and it was a disaster. I was driving home at the time, the city lights blurring by as I passed them. I barely responded, just a quiet here and there. Lisa kept talking about how my wife was posting online again, trying to win back her followers. But it wasn't working. People kept bringing up the party, the one with the t-shirt. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. That damn t-shirt. I didn't say much more, just let Lisa talk until she quieted down. I thanked her for the update and hung up. I didn't need to hear more. She was falling apart, piece by piece. It didn't surprise me. She had always been great at standing tall when things were easy, when others like me were there to support her. But when those supports were gone, she didn't know how to stand on her own. Meanwhile, my own life was moving forward. A week later, Gregory called me into his office and slid a paper across the desk. "You're speaking at a conference next month," he said. It was a local business event, and they had specifically requested me. He laughed when he saw my surprised face. "Yep, you've been killing it lately. People are noticing." I walked out of his office feeling like I was on top of the world. It wasn't a huge event, but it was mine, something I had earned. Then came the big break. I received an email from someone I'd met at a conference years ago, an influential professor. He was hosting a business conference in Dubai and invited me to guest lecture. "Your name's been coming up a lot," he wrote. I read the email again, letting the words sink in. From the guy who once spent every penny on her birthday party to the guy now receiving invitations halfway around the world. I said yes without hesitation. That evening, I met up with Sasha and Omar at the diner. Their software was still slow and a little messy, but it was progressing. I had invested a chunk of my savings into their startup, and they were grateful. "You're like our secret weapon." Sasha grinned over his fries. Omar, quieter but just as eager, nodded. I felt needed, valued. Things I hadn't felt in a long time. Back at my apartment, I pinned the Dubai conference invitation to my vision board, next to my dreams of Thailand and the house sketch I had been working on. Running kept me grounded. Every morning, I hit the pavement, my breath fogging in the cool air. I was up to 6 miles now. My body was leaner, my mind clearer. She was fading. Her job, her podcast, her online following, everything slipping away. Meanwhile, I was rising. Seminars, lectures, startups. The world that had once revolved around her was now turning toward me, and I wasn't looking back. I didn't hate her. I didn't even think about her much. But knowing she was struggling while I was climbing, well, it felt like justice.